Welcome to DotConnectAfrica Web Forum. We hosted our sixth series of virtual web forum on a timely topic of breaking gender bias through technology, which was in line with the International Women's Month theme of breaking the bias. Our session focused on how technology can help break gender bias, young leaders' perspective. This web forum was hosted by the award-winning Sophia Bekele, CEO and founder DotConnectAfrica Group, who in 2021 was listed as 100 most influential women in Silicon Valley and awarded the prestigious CEO Today Awards. She is also the founder of the pioneering Women in Tech program in Africa, known as FemPower. This event was chaired by Ms. Georgina Mbira, a two-time award-winning TV host from Kenya, and co-chaired by Ms. Fortunate Twala, a radio presenter and life coach from South Africa. The main topics our panel of speakers discussed included, but not limited to, what are the traditional beliefs that are hindering gender equality in society, how technology can break gender bias, what the public and private institutions are doing to break the gender bias in the technology industry, and also suggested the best way tech companies can adapt to break the gender bias. I will hand it over to Sophia Bekele, who will do her opening remarks for the forum.
So hello, everyone. First and foremost, thank you all for being here, sharing your most important day of the week, the Saturday, where you could have spent it as a me day. We want to welcome our chair, Ms. Georgina, and co-chair, Fortunate Twala, and our panel speakers. It's an honor to be here with you, celebrating the Women's Month 2022. As we hold a virtual conversation with young women dominating the tech industry, I would love to thank you all for joining us in this timely conversation, focusing on how technology can help break the gender bias from a young leader's perspective. International Women's Day is recognized on March 8th this year, with this year's United Nations theme being #BreakTheBias. It solves us to imagine a world that's free of stereotypes and discrimination, and where diversity and inclusivity are valued and celebrated. It's the goal of DCA and FemPower, our Women in Tech Empowerment program in Africa, which is committed to achieving every day of the year. So despite women making up 80% of the community sector workforce, they're still underrepresented in the tech industry. We know from our decades of work in this space, bias against women in tech is pervasive, despite a wide range of efforts to promote gender equality in science and technology. According to UNICEF, globally, 18% of girls in tertiary education are pursuing STEM studies, compared to 35% of boys. That's very minimal. Even within the STEM fields, there lies a gender divide, with similar number of boys and girls pursuing natural sciences, while far more boys looking to engineering, manufacturing, and construction. Statistics highlight just how unequal economic participation, opportunity, and political empowerment are, particularly in Africa. We know also around the world. But the gender divide remains the largest in the world's least developing countries at 32%. If women are underrepresented in sectors such as tech, then it is highly likely than not, enough thought will be given towards gender consideration. For example, artificial intelligence requires data which contains bias, but influenced by the person inputting the data. And this is not free from gender, race, and cultural biases. Considering that the majority of the population working in the tech are male, this is most likely have implications on gender equality. However, there's also progress to celebrate, and that's why we are here. We continue to ask ourselves how we seek to break the bias. How can we all finally realize that the digital gender divide costs us a lot more than we realize? How might we advocate for gender bias and technology? How is our own workplace fostering equality and fairness, inclusion and diversity? All these probing questions to our able chair, Georgina, the co-chair Fortunate, and look forward to the comments and perspectives of you young leaders who have honored us with your time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the sixth series of the DotConnectAfrica Web Forum of Executive and Leadership Roundtable on the timely topic of breaking the gender bias in
Yes.
celebration of the International Women's. Today, to gather great and bright minds to share thoughts, experiences, insights, and of course, inspiration, as we get to have an in-depth conversation on breaking gender bias through technology, how technology can help break the gender bias from a young leader's perspective. So this is going to be a 60-minute session. It is brought to you by DotConnectAfrica Group, and of course, sponsored by DCA Academy and FemPower Africa.
Yes.
First of all, a massive thank you to all of you joining us from all around the world using Zoom links and Skype links as well. Please feel free to leave a comment or question during the session, telling us where you are tuning in from and your thoughts on the topic. So we do value your feedback and participation. And of course, our speakers will be able to respond to some, if not all, your questions from this session, okay? And I am fortunate enough, all pun intended, to co-chairing this forum with somebody who has been in two professions that I so badly wanted to be in growing up. Once in cabin crew for South African Airways, now a radio presenter. She is also a brand ambassador and a life coach, held the prestigious, my goodness, title of
Don't go there.
South Africa 2019. She was top 50 Mrs. South Africa 2020, Woman of Stature 2022, and of course transitioned into a pageant judge. And now my co-host for today, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Fortunate Twala.
Thank you so much. I'm very well. Thank you so much. And we welcome you. So beautiful as well. And we have amazing speakers. And we thank most definitely our host, Sophia. You know, it's so obvious that this platform, most girls and women, you know, they have less access to technology and internet compared to the boys and men, as we are about to engage, and in particularly the areas and countries in undeveloped countries, they have no access to technology. Actually think out of the box. So it actually challenged me myself. I'm like, oh my goodness, what have I been doing? So this platform, it really is a dialogue and engagement that reminds us that we are all human, and we all just want a chance in life, just for a chance in education, in hope, and just to a brighter future. And as we remain optimism and with hope, breaking the bias that and coming together to forge women's equality, there's definitely an incredible gap in technology, and looking for a way forward. So I'm looking to everybody's insights and knowledge and learning, and I'm ready to take on the world. The world is waiting for us women. I mean, there's no way. There's a saying in South Africa, they say, but we'll say it later, all of us, when we're done. It says, "Watinta bafazi, watinta imbogodo." So I'm gonna teach you that when we end. Remind me of that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so very much, ma'am. So now to my speakers, we're going to go straight in, no wasting time. I am so excited. Stop me when I get too excited. Let's go to the first speaker now. Everywhere is home and nowhere is home. And that is the life of a third culture kid. So having to settle in one place for a long period of time due to the nature of her father's work. Now, those are a lot of connections made along the way. If you look at it, you know, if you look at the glass half full, she is now what we call a super connector. A super connector of people, of ideas, of companies. She knows how to create profit and build strong cultures of teams by putting people first. She has an extraordinary ability to identify and develop top talent, named one of Silicon Valley's 2017 Top 40 Under 40, the Women of Africa Ambassador for Sudan, founder and CEO of Elovoro, and multiple other human first business ventures. I present to you Ms. Hiba Sharief.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored, I'm humbled to be here among such impressive power women, to be honest. I'm so proud of all of you and all women who can see very clearly that we can absolutely break the gender bias. So such a pleasure.
Thank you very much. So let's go straight into it. For your first question now, I know you are big on changing women, you know, the ratio of women in technology and leadership. But gender inequality still is a huge problem, Hiba. So what, in your opinion, are some of the traditional beliefs that hinder equality in our society today?
Sure, and talk about it kind of globally, right? Because this exists even in Silicon Valley, where I reside. I'm currently in Sudan. I'm a Sudanese national, and the challenges are similar, but also quite different. In Silicon Valley, I think it's honestly just a pipeline issue. There are also other issues as it relates to transparency with wages, other challenges related to women not having necessarily the confidence or the go-getter mentality. Because, for example, statistics have shown, since we are talking about statistics earlier, a woman will want to make sure that she has all the requirements in a job description before she applies, whereas a man is likely to apply even if he only meets 3 of 10 requirements, right? And so even that level of confidence kind of changes that perspective in women. In Africa specifically, I think there are a few things. One is that generally speaking, we don't, women, young leaders, I'll say, women aside, right? Young leaders in general don't necessarily have that awareness even of what's possible, right? Yes, during the last few decades, there have been more and more stories that they can resonate with, more role models that they can look up to, but there's a lack of awareness of what's possible. They see this Western world as something unattainable, right? And I think there's a lot of work we need to do to make sure people know what's possible. Forums such as this are the exact type of messages and kind of awareness mechanisms that need to happen and need to make their way to folks so they can know that it is possible. It's not beyond them, or you know, and this is to the entire generation, right, to the youth. But among women specifically, and again, role models and mentors and sponsors are super critical. We are in Africa very much driven by what our families would like us to do, right? So there's still this big, our parents want us to be engineers and doctors, right? And there are so many more professions than engineers and doctors. And I'm not saying people should just tell their parents, you know, I don't care what you want, mom and dad, just gonna do whatever I want, right? But even in tech, it's such a broad, I mean, engineering is part, right? There are engineers, right? There are developers, software engineers. But in tech, it's such a broad and diverse field that when you say product manager, right, that's still a kind of a technology type of role, because, you know, with the increase in the number of startups today, you need every single role, Scrum Master, right? Or a UI UX person that's going to be creative, but still working in the tech space, right? So I think there are so many roles that are not software engineering. So that's one other bias, right, that tech has, where people think tech means I'm a coder, or tech means I'm an IT support desktop technician, and tech is just so broad that we need to better define what technology is as a field. I'm in technology strategy, for example. You do not want to put me in front of a keyboard anymore, right? I mean, for coding, you don't want me to execute anything anymore. But there was a point in time when I did, and people don't understand that it's just like marketing, just like, you know, it's so broad. And so we have a role to play as technologists to better explain tech. We have a role from an awareness standpoint to make sure that the young folks, women as well, understand what is possible, right? In terms of here's what you can become as a former chief information officer, chief digital officer, right? That kind of bias. And then we have a huge role to play in increasing awareness among the general population, right? It's more of a, that's going to take generations, right? But if we start with today's generation, that's going to definitely have a long-term effect.
Alrighty, thank you so much for that. Yes, indeed, I agree with you that you do need to define technology, because I am among the women that are, is it all about coding? Is it all about, you know? So thank you so much for that.
People are
over
afraid
to
of it,
you.
right? And they shouldn't be afraid of it, right?
Yeah,
No,
it's so true. It's actually what I'm learning so much. It's actually challenging. You know, sometimes you're thinking they put you in a platform to actually empower women, but you also get empowered because you like we really need to think out of the box. Like there's so much in technology, and that will lead me to the second question. And one thing that I really want to highlight is confidence. And I think for us women to actually empower each other and bring that confidence, it has to start with us embracing each other and starting collaborating and working together. So I'm very, very pleased that the first thing that you mentioned is confidence amongst us. It's not there's enough space for everyone, and we need to take each other by hands, embrace each other's gifts. So the next question is to you, ma'am, is how can technology break the gender bias for sustainable development in according to your opinion or view?
So technology, so I'm on that, I keep saying I'm on the intersection of profit and purpose, or innovation and humanity, right? So it's the intersection, the fourth industrial revolution, everything that's happening, kind of disrupting all the industries, right? Tech has been a core part of disrupting finance with fintech, education with ed tech, legal with legal tech, etc. And so technology is only getting started, so to speak, right? So ultimately, technology disrupting industry and all this innovation that's happening in AI, ML, and there's no way around it. We're all going to have to adopt and adapt, because be it as users of, I mean, you can't even get a taxi anymore unless you're using a mobile app, right? So
that's
now.
true. Yeah.
That the days of hailing a cab, right, are long gone. And so technology is here to stay. That sustainable development piece, right? So we have the UN, I think, for a long time has been trying to come up with ways to have goals that are understood and measurable and easy to follow. And I think the SDGs, like those 17 SDGs, I think are a great step forward in terms of everybody, be it enterprise or small business or the rest of the communities, are now very clear on what those goals are, those 17 SDGs. And so there's a lot of work we need to do still to actually bridge that gap between what technology is doing and then sustainable development. I think a few things is that the way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. So the first thing is that when we talk about sustainability or sustainable development, it's such a complex, again, very broad topic, that we need to find like the 1 or 2 or 3 areas where we need to focus, right? Obviously, life on land and life in water and stuff are not necessarily those 2-3 things. So I would say that we need to focus on industry and job creation. Right? And so from a job creation standpoint, capacity building, as it's called in that part of the world, right? Capacity building, talent development is super critical, and having a much bigger focus on women at a much younger age, right? To let them know that math is sexy, right? Like it is cool to be an engineer, but like not a mechanical engineer, right? Or even a mechanical engineer. But it is sexy. It is good to actually, and you're smart enough and you're talented enough. Like that has to happen much earlier in life so that we can stop the folks that drop out. But if I look at Sudan, more than 50% of the University of Khartoum's School of Math is actually women, right? I want to say a typical classroom is 70% female. So they are entering, right? They are in those fields.
Wow.
But they drop off, right? And they drop off because they get the education because they should get the education. Their families tell them to get the education, but they don't get it so that they can actually work in the field. They get it to say, I have a degree, right? And so what has to change that is that, first of all, that it's good to work, right? Like being independent and actually working and having kind of goals to strive for, etc., are great. So one is like stop working just so stop going to college just to have the degree and put it in your portfolio of things that you own, and actually work. But The challenge I hear about all the time is that the opportunities are not there. Like there just aren't enough jobs. Like we have a handful of companies, right? We've got a couple of telcos. We've got some family businesses that own, 50% of the country's kind of companies, and then we have some petroleum companies, right? So it's a handful of companies, and everyone's competing for the same huge talent pool. And so job creation is going to be huge in breaking the gender bias. And what I mean by that is we need more folks to create, to do capacity building, as I am, but to actually help women have a place to start, right? It's like having your first job, right? Everybody wants that experience. Like everybody's asking you, for that previous experience. And it's important that we give people that first job and make that easy. Point is, again, I mentioned job creation, but working in collaboration with large enterprises. Everybody has these corporate social responsibility orgs, these ESG initiatives, right? And they're focused on the youth, but not many are actually with that lens of women, right? They're definitely, I mean, Sudan's youth population, I think less, it's 60, I don't want to speak out of line, but we have 60% of the population, if not more, 70% or 60% are under the age of 25, right? Not even 30, right? And the youth actually goes up to 30. So a huge percentage is under 25. And they don't even consider having interns unless they've graduated, right? The whole concept of I'm going to allow you to be exposed, right? And actually, from a CSR standpoint, an ESG standpoint, all these corporate programs that they have, these large enterprises, they don't necessarily help them earlier on, which is a huge gap. In the States, you intern when you're in college so that by the time you graduate, you have some experience. And that's a huge gap, I think, in Africa. So one is going early, and the other is making it a part of these enterprises, CSR programs or ESG programs. And not there. So I would say of the 17 UN SDGs, I'd say focus on job creation and industry, and I think just giving opportunities when they're more, don't get me wrong, they're focused on some great stuff, right? But making it a key part of their not just for the sake of the name, because there's another thing that's happening, even in the States, where it's like, let me do it because it's cool. That's what everybody else is doing. But even if that's the case, like, that's still fine, right? It'll still help drive the agenda.
True. Thank you so much. Wow.
Alrighty, thank you, Hiba. I think you've actually touched on my third question for you, where you mentioned capacity building, job creation, collaboration with large enterprises, focus on youth, and of course CSR programs. In a way, that's how the public and the private sector would be able to break the gender bias. Now, our second speaker once, let me tell you, used her school fees to design and create her first piece of furniture. Of course, against her very, very African parents' will, who wanted her to get a job. From almost zero capital, she now owns a multi-million tech-enabled furniture design and manufacturing company in Nigeria. She has won many grants and awards, and her brand and company was once selected to represent Africa at the Google Pitch Drive Asia. In 2021, she was recognized as one of the 100 most inspiring women in Nigeria. I am pleased to introduce to you Taeillo founder and director, Miss Jumoke Dada.
Thank you. Welcome.
How are you?
I'm good.
All right, so I'm glad you're here. So let's get you on your first question. Now, I know woodworking and metalworking have historically been disciplines dominated by men, and that has changed. So we have a new generation of female makers rising and showing that they're equally capable of conceptualizing and building furniture with heavy rough materials. Nevertheless, women are still underrepresented in this field. as in most others actually. So where their beliefs, were their traditional beliefs imposed on you and maybe on yourself due to what society had to say when you were starting off?
I think for me, when I was starting the question of trying to answer the question of are there more women in the furniture business? For me, when I was starting off, it was a story of I really wanted to show the world that really beautiful, nice, amazing things can be done from Africa. Nigeria is not what people think it is. Nigeria is a beautiful place that has talented people who are extremely gifted. And for me, I wanted to use Taeillo as an opportunity to, showcase that bit. So for me, getting into it, furniture is like a medium of expression for me, right? Wow. I would say at the beginning when I was starting out, majorly I had to deal with a lot of men, right? And for me, coming from a background of architecture, from architecture school, definitely we were already going to site. I was privileged to work on, very huge projects. So for me, I've had that experience working with a lot of men, especially architecture in itself is also a male-dominated industry, right? And for me, it's really around how do we because what I tell people on my team is this: don't see yourself as a male or female. I think where the issue is, and what I see generally in the world right now, is that people want to say, oh, female power, this. It's fine, it's good. But first of all, we are humans first before we are male or female, right? Being male or female is just like a variant of a species. So whatever I'm doing has to come from a place of Jumoke as human, not Jumoke as a woman, right? So for me, I think for us, even as women, when we are trying to answer questions around, oh, how do we survive in a male-dominated space? My response is always, I'm human first. So whatever I'm doing, you see from the side of a human is doing this. It's just I'm just a variant of a particular species.
Thank you, Jumoke. I actually quite understand that. The reason why we have gender bias is we look at ourselves as male and female. If we can remove that altogether and look at ourselves as humans, then we cut that entire problem by half, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Fortunate?
Wow, amazing. And I like the fact that in one of your quotes you said you don't fit in one box. So you are a jack of all trades, you master it. And I like the passion that you have. And which leads me to your next question, which says, what do you think is the public and private institutions are doing to break the gender bias in technology and also in the industry, and suggest the best ways that tech companies can adopt to break the gender bias?
For me, in the tech space, using Nigeria as an example, right? You don't get to see a lot of, for instance, VCs believe in women to say women can do this, right? So for instance, you get to hear VCs say stuff like, oh, I don't think you can cope with the growth that would happen in a few years' time, right? So if I put my money in you, I don't see it coming back anytime soon, right? And for me, when I was trying to, because at Taeillo, we try as much as possible to leverage technology to do a lot of things. For me, I was starting from zero capital. For instance, I got my first customer from free Facebook credits, free ads credits from Facebook. And when I was trying to raise my first seed round, it was more or less as a woman, I have to show you all what I've done for you to be able to believe in me, right? And I feel to allow more women come into the space, there has to be an emergence of more women who are powerful enough to back other women, right? There has to be an emergence of women who have founded more successful tech-enabled or tech businesses to be able to believe and bring in more women into their team. So for instance, for us, our team in Kenya is 100% women. In Nigeria, we are still striving to get into that space, right? But the thing is, what I've come to realize is most women are not confident enough, to take their space in whatever field, most fields. For instance, most women, like Hiba said, it's more or less like I just want to go to school and, put it on my my list of certificates that I have, and that's it. Most women don't see themselves fitting into much more bigger picture. Maybe it might be coming from what they've been told as young girls, right? But the thing is, we can get more women into tech space, even businesses and other sectors, by, showing them much more examples of women who are successful in their own rights, and seeing those women, those successful women backing other young women to come into the field, right? Or even like see all those women bringing women feeling like C-level roles that, ideally women will not be, invited to come and be a part of. And I also feel like a way we can also like bring in more women into the space is to do a lot of, mentorship programs, accelerators that are particularly to women, right? Because most times, like for me, it's experience I keep getting every now and then, because right now we are currently fundraising, right? And I would like just use this as an example. So, the investor like presented to their IC, they got back to us based on like the feedback they got from their IC. And what they are saying is, I'm not really sure. Do you think we really want to give them this valuation? And part of like the argument is that if men come and pitch like this same business to you and they give a ridiculous valuation, you'll be happy to take it, right? But because she's a woman, you don't see the value she's created, and you don't see her, you don't think it's credible enough, right? Or you get to hear things around, oh, she's like a solo female founder, and if she says she's going to hit this target, I'm not sure she can hit it. Like, why do you have to say that, right? And, it's just a bias that especially most funds that have like men who have like money to be able to like pull this or turn this around. It's unfortunate that most of them are men. But the thing is that what someone like me stands to do is to show a lot of younger women that, what, I've been through this for you. It is possible. If I can, despite the bias, change the whole story and change the narrative, then it's very possible for you to do that. And guess what? By me doing that, I get to build the confidence of a lot of other girls that's just like maybe going to tech, getting certificates and coming out, If I use my funds, maybe at some point I exit, and I use my funds to invest in other like younger women who are starting tech-enabled startups, then that way I get to have more people come on board. It's just around having more women who are successful back more women.
True. Thank you so much. Break the bias.
Break the bias. Thank you so very much, Jumoke Dada, for that. It is indeed, we do have to have an emergence of more powerful women who are able to, bring up other women. Now, I just want to go to Sophia. I needed to play a 2-minute clip that I am so glad for you to see, Sophia.
Okay, let's do that.
There aren't enough white men to do this, and we're going to need a lot of competent human beings, and that includes everyone.
Many women in my circle have gone through the same process of, should I quit technology?
The headlines calling out tech's gender gap just keep coming. And for women in tech who are used to sexism and discrimination, this isn't really news. A lot of disparities at tech companies are glaring, especially for technical jobs. Women see 3 main areas of improvement for closing the gap. Efforts so far have focused on teaching coding. Women say change can't happen without also improving hiring and retention.
The more people we have who are fully engaged right now, the more that energizes that pipeline, which of course is important, but takes time.
We talked to women at different career stages to find out what they think would help most.
The first coding class I actually took was 2 months ago, and I ended up being the only girl there, and I was really scared and nervous when I first walked in. The major difference about being at this camp, it's an all-girls class. Like, no one cares if another person's wrong. I feel like it's a much more let-loose type of class.
We want to beat the attackers at their game. And when you think about how we're going to solve for that, it's going to be, technology is going to be one piece of it, but it's innovation, it's thinking out of the box.
There's the matter of supporting women who already have tech jobs. Some companies are creating events and networking groups to help women move ahead. Last year, a major venture capital firm started Ascent, a mentorship program for women at companies it funds.
You get confronted with, unfortunately, terrible and misogynistic culture in the tech industry and you just don't know what to do. It is very important to have somebody that has been through that giving you advice.
When I started Ascend, I had this opportunity that Tunin let me take, which is being an engineering manager. And honestly, I was not sure I was good for that role. And talking to my mentor really, really helped, and talking to my peer group.
Still, women stress that networking between women alone won't fix deep-seated cultural issues in tech. Men have to get involved too. As the talent pool grows, women say companies need to change who's getting hired and who's doing the hiring.
The workforce is essential to shaping the right future that we have. And I think we need to take more action within organizations to look at how do we build the right inclusive environments.
It's great to think that technology could solve gender bias issues, but in reality, technology is only as good as the people who are using it or the people who are training it. So it's really important to get that right. Artificial intelligence will only be as good as the humans and the people who are training it. So actually, it's really important to put guardrails in place to make sure that your technology, your artificial intelligence, your chatbots and everything that you're using actually is balanced and fair and ethical.
Overly simplistic and almost convenient to assume that AI is going to make the gender challenge we have in the technology space go away. I do, however, I genuinely believe it will help, and the reason I still need to work on the other elements that we're already doing around STEM and getting more girls involved in more technical activities while in school, so that flows through the educational third level.
So we're just going to go straight into our third speaker. Now, she is an inspiration to millions of Ghanaians and to the people who have overcome challenges posed by being differently abled. She has developed a web-based cloud banking software named Kudi, used by over 130 microfinance institutions in her country, which she considers her most significant achievement. She is a young global leader in the World Economic Forum and was named the most influential woman in business and governance in Africa for the financial sector. In 2018, she conceived and authored the first comic book featuring a superhero with cerebral palsy named Kamza, who gets her superpowers from her crutches that she uses due to cerebral palsy. Now, she is a tech entrepreneur, a public speaker, a writer, a software engineer, and chief technology officer at Logiciel.
Wow. Thank you so much for that.
Karibu sana. Karibu sana. As we say it here in Kenya, Karibu means thank you. You are such a great inspiration. I am so glad to meet you, albeit virtually. So I have a question for you. Now, you were the first woman in tech in Ghana when you started your career, and you challenged the gender bias to the point where people around you forgot you were a woman and treated you as one of your guys, one of the guys. And I know those were your words. You changed it, you overcame it, but still not a lot of women have overcome it. So what are these primitive beliefs that still hinder gender equality in our society and the tech space?
Of course, there are a lot of traditional cultural beliefs that we have as a society in Africa, and it's not just in Ghana, it is across the whole of Africa when it comes to the role of a woman, and especially when it comes to the acceptable careers that a woman can take or can do. And it starts from the home, and it is perpetuated in our various schools and all as well, because most of the time when you're in school and you say you want to go into tech, your teacher would discourage you and say that no, it is a male-dominated field. You can't do it. You can't do math. And that misconception that women are bad at mathematics. And I'm like, I mean, what is special about a man that makes it easier for them to comprehend 1 + 1 than for a woman to be able to comprehend the same thing? Because at the end of the day, mathematics is it's just 1 + 1 is equal to 2, and I mean that is the basis of mathematics. So I have never ascribed to that. Now, I didn't really, I always say that if it were not for my disability, I probably wouldn't be in tech. I probably would be doing a lot of other things. listen, I did not care. I would work out to believe that I could do it, so I attempted to do it. And for me, I always say that, look, we are afraid of failure so much that we do not want to take risks. We are afraid of rejection so much that we do not want to take chances as women. But at the end of the day, if you are rejected, what happens? You don't die. You just come back and learn and move, and learn from that mistake and move on. But if I was told no, what would have happened? I wouldn't be a lesser person. I wouldn't. It wouldn't kill me. But what if you are told yes, like I was told yes, and you get these opportunities? So I think that although society has a huge role to play in promoting women in STEM, we women have a bigger role to play in promoting ourselves and believing in ourselves and what we can do. Because there's only so much forums like this and the various STEM programs and things can do. If the women themselves are not willing to put themselves out there and take the necessary step.
All right. Thank you so much. You have covered indeed so many things. One, the idea of there's an acceptable career for women. We have to crush that. Also, when children are discouraged from pursuing certain careers, certain subject because hey, mathematics is for boys. Women are also. We need to. When I wanted to ask you about what organizations can do to break the gender bias, I think you've answered that by, you know what, we're not going to wait for these institutions to do something about it. We as the women need to play the biggest role in breaking this gender bias. Thank you so much for that. I want to just go straight into our fourth speaker, Fortunate, if you allow me.
Please do that. Please do that, mate.
Our fourth speaker, she is a breeder of innovative minds, a thought leader in technology in her home country, Nigeria. She trains young girls in the use of technology to solve problems in their communities. She is a certified data scientist, an advocate of women in STEM. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. And so you will allow me, first of all, to congratulate her for recently becoming a beneficiary of Ingressive for Good, 1,000 Women in Data. She'll tell us about that. So she is the founder of STEM Zone Nigeria. Let us welcome Temitope Bolaji Odeyomi.
Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction. Thank you so much. So thank you for this opportunity. It's actually great meeting so many great women doing wonderful things in tech and their respective fields. So just talking about gender inequality. So according to the question sent to me, I'll be talking about how traditional beliefs has affected gender inequality and how tech can be used to cause to reduce the gender inequality and what public and private institutions are doing to ameliorate gender inequality in the society. So talking about myself, thank you for the introduction. I'm the founder of STEM Zone, and at STEM Zone, we train kids, especially young girls and teens, on how to use technology. We focus on using STEM concepts, teaching them on courses like robotics, artificial intelligence, coding, and things like that. So I'm also a PhD student in physics and machine learning here in Nigeria. I'm a data scientist and I work as also an ML engineer. So from my, I actually finished school very early, and that was when a lot of, I've experienced a lot of gender inequality, like people telling me that I actually can't do what I do. So finishing secondary school at the age of 14 and about to enter university, I wasn't sure, the truth be told, I wasn't sure actually what I wanted to do. I was homeschooled by my brother when I was in the secondary education, about 2 years. And then I actually didn't like anything STEM, but it's not as if I didn't like it. We had a lot of teachers that actually made this subject very difficult and not interesting. So it was during that time my brother taught me in a way that made everything so much interesting. Was an electrical engineer. So, and during that years, I fell in love with physics. I fell in love with physics to the extent that I chose physics as my BSc course when I wanted to. That was my undergraduate degree when I wanted to go ahead. So in the process of choosing physics, I had a lot of advisors telling me that why will I actually want to choose a course like that? I should go and choose a better course. Accounting, I love maths. You can actually go for accounting. You'll be a banker. A lot of advice that, oh, this course, do you think you can actually do well in this course? And I thank God everything went well. I'm presently on my PhD in physics, and it has been so interesting so far. So talking about the traditional beliefs, there's actually a lot, especially in this part of the world, Africa, a lot of traditional beliefs that affect gender inequality. So the discrimination has been there. It has not started from now. It has started from right from the beginning of time. Can I say time? Yeah, I can even say that, because we've had experiences from even our grandmas telling us how they suffered gender inequality, although during their time they might not have counted it as gender inequality, because they look at that's the norms in the society. That's how every woman was treated. So even from our grandfathers, most of them have suffered a lot of things that they should not have been. So it has been in our culture. It's just there in our culture that women should not be this, women should not be that. This is the way women should be treated. This is the way you need to behave in this society. And it has been passed down from generation to generation to generation. And I thank God for now, because of technology, there's a lot of enlightenment. There's a lot of awareness going on. People are beginning to speak up. And there's a slang going on presently in Nigeria, Sorosoke. Speak up, that's the meaning. They call our generation of Sorosoke, because a lot of people do not want to accept the norms again. We have a lot of people speaking up for themselves, and that's thanks to technology. So I'm already at the point saying that how technology has been breaking the bias and reducing gender inequality. Thanks to the technology, there's a lot more awareness going on. People are telling themselves, there's a lot of tweets, a lot of pictures, a lot of forum, like one of these, a lot of things going on that are making people aware that things like this should not be happening. So even from I'll talk from a personal experience. My mom, actually, she runs a secondary school and a primary school here in Nigeria. And for some time, she has been in the space. She didn't want to put herself, she's the one running the business, but she didn't want to put herself out there, because the moment a woman here in Nigeria, you put yourself out there as the one doing this, oh, they believe you've charmed your husband. Oh, you've charmed your husband. That's what they say. That's what they say. You've charmed your husband. So you are the one running his business. You are the one doing this. But seeing us, our children, doing wonderful things, and seeing our husband supporting us, she was confident enough to put herself out there, go to meetings, attend educational stuff, and she was happy actually that things are beginning to change. So, and most of the time she tells us that things that she could not do for herself, she's happy seeing us do them and having supportive husbands and partner to actually push us there. So that's another importance of technology. And another importance of technology, way technology has been breaking the bias is through data, AI. I'm a data scientist and also a machine learning engineer. So I will actually build on this. Even though we have a lot of people saying that AI is doing nothing, actually even increasing the bias. But what I can say is that AI is just like a child, is inheriting what we pass down to it. The data has been there that even from, there was a Twitter sentiment we did, so that we can actually describe what kind of role should women be impacting. And I mean, the kind of career a woman should go into. And we have a lot of tweets in the past saying that, oh, men, I am an engineer, I'm a man, and this and that. And from the Twitter sentiment, the machine learning model could predict that men are the ones that should be in roles like engineering, being a doctor, being a civil engineer, in technology. And so it's inherited the bias from us and is projecting that bias. It is the data we give into AI that it brings out. So if we can diligently create an algorithm such that we are so focused on the bias and make sure that all bias is eliminated, I think AI will actually do well in reducing the bias. Look at, in terms of employment, there's a lot of tech companies that use their algorithm to determine what CV they are going to pick across all applicants. And there are some of them that actually shut down those algorithms because those algorithms were actually biased. But there are some that have actually done much more work in building this algorithm such that they are neutral and they pick those that are qualified. So from there, putting those with deeper understanding of the bias, people, women leaders, women that or people that has no bias in leadership positions. So if those people are in leadership position and they have a decision-making power in building this algorithm, I think things will be better. So I can say that so far technology has been doing well in breaking the bias, and we are going to see more of those algorithms, more of those software, more of those platforms that actually reduce gender inequality in the future. And also, we have a lot of network, a lot of communities that are doing wonderful things in breaking the bias. I don't think Annie is here. Annie she was the first person that gave me the first grant. She was on this call just before she dropped off. She gave me my first grant for my business, and that was back in 2016. And that was what gave me the platform to actually grow my business into something, what is it today? So there are a lot of communities for women that are doing a lot of things to reduce gender inequality. And I'm also talking about both public and private sector. We have a lot of awareness going on, a lot of political representation trying to push women into the limelight. Even though they are not enough, we still have a lot of bias going on, but it's a comfort to see that even men, a lot of percent, I'm surprised that a lot of men are supporting women, pushing them out there. So, okay, you can do this, women should be this, women should be that. There's a video going around recently of the judge who went to the Black African, I'm sure most of us should have seen that video of the Black African judge, and we have a man trying to comfort her during an interview that, okay, for you to be in this position, we believe in you, even though some of the men are trying to put her down, but this man actually spoke up for her. So we have a lot of leadership roles specifically for women now. A lot of public and private sectors are trying to make the representation. You see that some of them, even in their CSR, their value proposition, they will state that we have 80% female in a leadership position, things like that. So, and it's a comfort to us. And it's a comfort that my daughter, I have a daughter, that my daughter will actually not go through the same paths that I've taken, that things will be better for her. And we have a lot of men. The importance of mentorship is actually cannot be overemphasized. Putting women, telling their stories, women that have done so well in technology in their career, putting their stories out there, telling the world that these are women that have succeeded in things like that is very important. So mentorship, telling stories, telling people that these are women that have done so well and is not actually an impossibility for other girls coming up, and going to the grassroots. And that is what I do. from the grassroots, we tell girls, young girls, that you can actually be this, you can actually be whatever you want. And because the notion is conceived right from when they are at a young age. They, even though they have the personal strength to do much more, but because of what the society, the community is telling them, they develop a personal belief that will actually affect what they go on to choose as a career. And that has affected a lot of girls. I see a lot of brilliant girls settling for something less than what they should be, just because they believe they can't do it, they don't have the support, they can't break that bias. So I will conclude on saying that the power is in the hands of we, the women. If we sit back waiting for someone to just make a rule, a universal rule in the world that women must be the leader in this, no, it's not going to happen, not even in the near future. It's our duty to go out there to push and pull whatever we can. It is our duty. So, and it's also important that in forum like this, we invite younger generation, girls that are coming up. We can't just continue speaking and speaking about these things without passing that information to younger generation. Very important. We pass the information to them, that we mentor them, we create communities, we create network for them to have access to things like this. So the power is in our hands, women. We can't do it alone. Supporting each other, very important, supporting each other. I have community of women and friends that we did something that was actually very cool, even though we've not started this year. We formed a community such that every one of us there, we write our goal for the year. And the moment you achieve a goal, you post pictures and try to validate that you've actually done this thing. And other women in the group will actually give you something to celebrate you, whether even if it's a recharge card, whether if it's a gift card to shop. And it has been wonderful so far. It has been pushing us to do much more, just because you have people to celebrate you, to tell you, go girl, you are doing this, you are doing wonderful, and you are doing great. So, so I can say that even though this discrimination are so much, but we can at the positive side of things, that things are getting better. It was not like this in the former generation. It was not like this. It's actually getting better. That's the truth. And I believe it can be better. I have the hope. I've seen, like, I can't say I've seen the future, but I know it can be better. So thank you for that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Wow. So just to conclude, and what you're saying, a few nuggets that really you have to be the change that you want to see. It's time for us to really step out and not just incubate with information, to go out there and actually, here to do, and what we are sharing now, and actually be on the field, be relatable to these young ones. You talked about mentorship, and I really think that's so close to my heart that, it's no use having all the information, keeping it to myself. I need to go out there and actually, living it, and imparting the wisdom and the knowledge, and bringing, our first speakers talked about bringing a technology sexy, bring the sexiness into technology. So we can do it with heels and the red lipsticks. So on that, my chair, allow me just to ask our first speaker just to conclude concluding remarks, perhaps maybe 1 minute just to wrap up, and just to give us something just to conclude about the whole discussion that we had. Over to you, Ms. Hiba.
Thank you, Fortunate. So first of all, again, I want to make a few remarks, and I'll try to be succinct. One is, even myself, who many would consider successful, would consider having made it, right? I need mentorship, and I need people like this. This kind of forum drives me, right? And inspires me, because I get to see what Taeillo and Jumoke and Georgina and Farida and others have been doing and are doing, right? Because it allows me to see that it's worth it. It's not just me so tired, because it's hard work, right? It's hard. Yes, it is on us, and we have to step up. We are as similar as we are. This group of women are also extremely different, right? We have different brains, we have different backgrounds, we come from different countries, right? And we have different levels of exposure, etc. So if I can leave the audience with something, is that we have basically said, you know what, we can do this. Others have. We need to surround ourselves with the right people, because we have to say, who do we have to stop? What do we have to stop doing, right? What do we have, instead of thinking about what do we have to start doing, right? Like, what do we have to stop doing? And what is it that we have to stop listening to as bad guidance, right? You heard from Taeillo, you heard from others. What do we have to stop? Who do we have to stop hanging around with because they're giving us bad advice, right? Or they're draining our energy. And I think a big thing is, who do we have to, we spoke about awareness, right? And we spoke about mentorship. Yes, we the women and we the women, but to a point Jumoke said very clearly, we the women should not be considering ourselves victims and in need, and we're not getting paid enough, and we are, no, that is not, that is by no means what women like us do when we come together, right? It's not a support session, right? It's actually a, how do we get the men to actually understand this better? When I say raising awareness and starting early in life, like Taeillo was just saying, right? It's less about the girls, right? Because a lot of the females know what's possible. And it's more about how do we just normalize? It's about making this a normal thing, which means we have to raise awareness. These types of forums cannot just be for the female network so they can get the confidence. Yes, we have confidence. Yes, we have to raise confidence. But it's about just normalizing this among the men, among the parents, among the people who are driving their kids to do stuff like that. So again, thank you for inspiring me today and changing my entire mood.
True, that is so true. Yeah, and for you, I'm going to hand over to you, Ms. Jumoke Dada, for your closing remark.
I think my closing remark will be around, let's just go out and do the work. Like Hiba said, we can't just keep talking and talking. Let's just go out and do the work. Mentor more girls, bring more girls into business, support them in little ways we can, being mentors, being coaches and all of that. So let's just go out and do it.
Sweet and to the point. Let's just do the work. That's it. And can I have Ms. Farida just to close with the remarks as well? Your last pointers to us.
As Jumoke rightly said, so it's time to do the work and let your work speak for itself. Be yourself. Do not be afraid of taking chances, because taking chances can lead you to all kinds of opportunities that you never dreamt of. And remember, the word no, no, never killed anybody. Thank you.
Wow, no caption. We always say no caption. I'm not even going to add anything. The word no, it just means next opportunity, actually. So I'm jumping right to our last speaker, Ms. Taeillo. Please, can we have your closing remarks?
I'll just say that believing in oneself, it's paramount, and building on your passion.
I'm not going to waste any more time. You've said it all, and thank you so much. I'm going to hand over back to our chair. I'm feeling very inspired, and I've learned a lot. I'm very, very challenged. Handing it over back to you, my chair, Ms. Georgina.
Thank you, Fortune, and thank you so very much, ladies. Hiba, Sharief, Jumoke, Dada, Taeillo, Adini, Sophia, Bekele, Farida, Bedwei. Thank you for your time, for taking this time to be with us. I have taken all the pointers with me. They're in my bag. I am now about to live my best life, thanks to you. We are not victims, yes? And we need to be mentors to ourselves, mentors to younger girls. We need to believe in ourselves. We will never die when we get a no, yes? Yeah. And of course, relax, because we're living in a culture, everything is the hustle culture, hashtag grinding, hashtag, you know, we never have time to rest. And that is extremely important. I just want to say thank you, of course, to Sophia Bekele for giving me this opportunity to chair. And for everybody that joined in, thank you so much for registering and for your comments. And yes, so thank you so, so much. I hope that you have a wonderful day. Let us go out there and win. And I'm taking it back to you, Sophia.
Thank you, Georgina, and also Fortunate. You guys have done a wonderful job. I appreciate you. I couldn't imagine it to end, actually. I wish I could go for one more hour on this. You guys have a lot of content to talk about. Amazing perspective. We need to speak up. We need to build better algorithms. I love the AI perspective. I just want to announce by this forum, I've been very privileged to give women across Africa seed fund competition through a seed fund competition to impact their initiative. There is now a call for action for application. It's on our website. It's called Miss.Africa and FemPower Seed Fund. And we want more people to participate. It's an app they can download and just apply. So I just want to leave you with that. It's been an honor to host these very accomplished women, and thank you so much for your time. And so hopefully we will do something together again as a group or individually. Thank you.
We have come to the end of our 6th series of our web forum on the timely topic of breaking gender bias through technology, which was in line with the International Women's Month theme, Break the Bias. The recordings, both video and podcast audio, are available on our web forum site at www.webforum.dotconnectafrica.org. We thank our DCA Digital Academy, FemPower, and our partners for their support. Stay safe, like, share, comment, and keep connected.